Hi everybody, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to Traveling with Russell. That's me, of course. Now today, I'm actually in Yekaterinburg, here in the middle of Russia, or I think it's the middle of Russia. It's a long way from Moscow, 2 hours by aeroplane, and I want to show you a very specific supermarket, a Russian typical supermarket that's quite specific to this region. And I can't find one in Moscow to make a video about it, so I thought I'd come here. Now I'm actually here at Dzhaby Rynok, or shopping center, and it translates in English to airship, and you can kind of get a bit of an idea of the building. We're going to briefly walk through there, and we're going to head to the supermarket, and I thought it might make an interesting video for everybody to see what a Russian typical supermarket looks like. Let's go. So this is pretty much the oldest shopping center in this entire region, and the translation to English, airship. Perhaps at some point they had airships in this area. Somebody who lives here needs to let me know. It is a very brutal looking building and very simple in its design. However, the superstructure itself is huge, and I think based on when it was built, they obviously kept it nice and simple. No fancy multi-level shopping center, and just put a whole lot of shops in there and you're good to go. So it just so happens right behind me I actually met a subscriber, and he corrected me that the shopping center is called Dirijabil Shopping Center, not the name I'm coming up with. So I'm very sorry and I apologize, and very nice to meet a subscriber early in the morning. Now I'm going to just briefly walk through a small market right here, then we'll go in the shopping center, then we'll go to the supermarket. So this might be a little bit longer of a video. However, I just want to show some of the things that are available here in this little part of Russia that's very typical all over Russia. They've got markets, and generally the markets that they've got are close to public transport or close to bus or train stations, and there is actually a metro station just in the distance. Hello. Hello. And this is what they would call a rynok, or food market, or food fair. And have a look at all the beautiful food. Now, part of the reason I'm adding this into this video is because we're going to go to a supermarket, and what is a very typical one here. However, you don't have to go to supermarkets to buy most things. You can come to a market like this and buy pretty much everything you like, every fruit and vegetable, and absolutely fresh and very nice, good quality fruit and vegetables. Now the thing with this sort of a market is it's very seasonal. So prices will vary a great deal depending on the time of year that you want to buy something. However, if you want a specific item, any time of the year, you can walk in and get something. Have a look at the size of these watermelons. And that's my hand there. So this would have to be about 8 or 10 kilos watermelon. They are huge. I just want to pop inside one of the stores here just for a minute, just to show you what a slightly different Russian typical shop looks like, particularly here at these rynoks. So depending on where you are in Russia, there's going to be large ones and small ones, and this one has around about 20 shops, and a lot of them sell quite similar things. However, you can find what you need in here pretty easily, and they've got a bit of a mixture of things, which is quite interesting, and a little bit of everything. Have a look back there. They've even got some Pepsi and Coke products. I think these might be from the Middle East or Afghanistan perhaps. And they've got all of the staple things that you need. And this sort of shop you can also buy rice by weight. So if you don't want to buy a bag of it, you can just get a scoop and you'll be good to go. Also at these rynoks, they've usually got lots of places to get something to eat, and this is really what you would consider Russian street food. However, a lot of the food that you'll see here comes from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and of course a lot of the staff that are working in them are from these different regions, and you can get some very tasty Russian street food in these places, and very reasonably priced. If you want something like a pastry or something, maybe some bread, they've got it right here. We'll see if we can walk down the next little lane. So generally they're always covered because they're open year round, so it doesn't matter the weather. If it's snowing, if it's sunny, you can come to a Rynok. Where I live in Moscow region, we have two different ones that I can visit. One is partly outdoors like this, and one is fully indoors. And it isn't too different, just perhaps in this region maybe different fresh local products versus things that maybe have to come to this region from another part of Russia. Have a look at how nice those bananas look, and all the choices of grapes. And then again, these watermelons, and I call these rock melons, and I think this one is torpedo melon. If it's called something different, please let me know. Have a look at how nice the tomatoes look. Beautiful. Mixed in, there is also some other little shops. So there's one here that's got some fish, and it looks like caviar as well. And then there's one that's got different meat products, and we've even got a fridge with ice cream right there as well. And then there's a little convenience type store, which we kind of saw in the other place, but just a little bit smaller. I'm really just going to briefly walk through. This is actually the fire plan for the building. However, they've got a bit of a layout of all the shops, and there is an upper level and a underfloor level or a minus level as well. But there's a lot of shops in here with a lot of stuff for sale. I've actually walked in on this lower level, literally from where I started the video, and it's made up of a series of smaller shops. Now, some of them will be branded shops, and some will be small businesses, which perhaps it's the only shop for their company. And there's a lot of little alleyways and laneways you can walk down to walk around and see the place. And there's lots of things that you can find. The whole idea with these shopping centers when they built them was it literally has everything somewhere. And the other idea too is it's more of a personal experience when you want to shop, because it's a smaller business and a smaller company. Now, this jewelry shop isn't. This is a franchise all over Russia, and some of them have of course snuck in here and want to take advantage of this close to home shopping for everyone who lives in the neighborhood. Have a look at the building and the roof. I mean, just how they built this back when they did. I mean, not that long ago. Let's talk 30 or 40 years ago. It's very much a warehouse in a sense, but it translates to airship, and perhaps a hangar for an airship if they ever had them. I'm not sure. Lots of phone providers and carriers. There's a children's shop here if you want to pretty much buy anything for kids. There's a ladies' shop right there. And then there is essentially a dollar store, which really isn't a dollar, but they've got a lot of these around Russia as well. They're very similar to a dollar store in the way they operate. They've just got all sorts of prices. Have a look at this clock store or watch store, and they've got grandfather clocks right in the window. This is pretty cool. And never-ending selection of watches as well. But how neat are the clocks right there? It is very cool. We go from one shop that's got grandfather clocks to pretty much the largest home goods and electronics store that's in Russia. And this Rynok, probably when it originally opened, didn't have anything like this all those years ago. They probably had something a little bit more simpler. And these stores have slowly crept in here and took over a lot of the space. Maybe we want to get our phone fixed, or maybe we want some perfume. There's literally everything. There's even somebody over there that's doing photocopying and passport photos. Now, the two competing businesses in Russia for electronics, this is the second one here, DNS. Now, I've done videos on my channel of these as a standalone video. You can definitely check those out. If anyone wants to see a new updated version, let me know, and I can definitely come and make a new video, one that's more local to where I live. So the actual place is just a rabbit warren of stores. There's one here with winter hats, or in Russian, shapka. So you can get something new for the season coming up. There's even a travel agent right here, which is pretty cool. If we want to go on holiday somewhere, we can do that. There's a sports store, and then there's probably all up, I would say maybe 150 shops in here. It's a little bit hard initially when you walk in to get an idea of which way to walk. But there's all sorts of little booths and little kiosks. This is the normal plan of the building. So there's actually 2 levels. I mentioned 3. So there's an upper and lower level. And I think the way they've got it set up, it's set up into zones. But I think over time it's very mixed now. Most of the upstairs is clothing or fashion shops. And you can pretty much get something for any season or any time of year. You can see from here now where we walk through and how simple it is, the design of these shops. And then as somewhere might close and open, they'll change the size of them. It's a very big building. And this isn't even a normal shopping center that they've got in other parts of Yekaterinburg. This is the original one. I actually came here yesterday once I arrived from Moscow, and I'm staying literally across the street from here. And I had to come back to make a video and show you this place as a whole walk around. And what we want to see is the supermarket, which we'll get to. And I hope this is interesting for you. Let's have a look from here now, the view. This is where we want to go to. It's called Universal Coin, or Universal Monetka. And this is a very well-known local, typical Russian supermarket. And I wish we had one of these in Moscow to go and make a video, but I've had to come here to Yekaterinburg to show it to you and show you that life outside of Moscow continues on, and there is very typical supermarkets no matter where you are in Russia. Where this actual shopping center is, it's really quite smack bang in the middle of a suburban area, and there is apartment buildings wrapped around the entire shopping center. So there's a lot of people who would definitely come here and walk across the street, quite literally, and come to this supermarket. I'm actually staying just off in the distance behind a couple of those buildings, about a 5-minute walk from where I'm standing. The door to go in actually is quite useful. It's got 3 different places in here. I didn't notice this. There's actually a beer shop, and then the supermarket, and then there's also a pharmacy. So it's handy. There's a little bit of everything inside, and it's a little bit of a corner off the shopping center, but you actually enter it from outside, so you don't have to go inside. This is the beer shop, but it's generally quite common that the beer shops have a bit of everything. So you can get some beer snacks, you can get different types of drinks. They've also got barbecue coals, if you want to do a shawarma, let's actually have a look at how they serve the beer here, because this is maybe something a little bit unique. Now they have, of course, some bottle beers, mostly all boutique or small batch beers. And then the way they do it is they've got all the choices up on the signs at the top right here. And then you let them know which one you want. And you'll see the gentleman here tapping one of the beers into a plastic container. And then you buy it by size. So you can get usually ½ liter, 1 liter. And then they've got the glass jars at the back. You can get 3 liters, yes, thank you. You can get a 3 liter jar of fresh tap beer, and in the back here that actually have all of the kegs and all of the setup that serve from the tap beer here. I think they've got about 40 different choices, I think. And how neat is that? So it's a beer shop with more than just beer. Plenty of choices though. And lots of craft beers. And of course, before you go to pay, grab some salty fish or some snacks and you're good. I know at the start of the video I did say the video was about coming to Monetka. However, there's so many interesting things before I even get to the door of the shop that I want to include in this video. So I think in a way it just proves the amount of items that I can buy, or anybody that's in Russia can buy, before you even get to the supermarket. And there's sometimes not even a need to go to a main supermarket if you can buy something out on the street, like right at the beginning of the video, or you can find a small family-run little shop. There's another one right here as well, and you can get absolutely everything that you need. This is the pharmacy that we showed from outside, or at least the sign. They also have a vending machine with contact lenses, so you can actually buy what you need. And then pharmacies in Russia are very similar looking. Everything is behind glass cases, and then they'll have somebody who will serve you and help you. And no matter where you go in Russia, they all look the same. There isn't a difference. And let's go on in to Monetka, the very famous Russian typical supermarket here in Yekaterinburg. For the last 2 days that I've been here, I keep telling people that I want to come to make a video here, and they're not overly impressed that I want to show this store, because perhaps it's not beautiful, it's not amazing looking. However, this is what a Russian typical supermarket looks like. This is where you can put your bag, you can lock it in there and keep the key. You don't have to walk around with bags from another store if you don't want to. And of course, the baskets are just in the middle of the footpath walking in. Not a worry at all. And I think a lot of people come here really mostly for low prices. The fact that there is a lot of them in this region of Russia, and they've got generally what you need at a cheap price. You can get some nuts and dried fruit. This is all by weight, so you just pay for it by kilos or grams. Bananas right there. So like we saw on the street, all the fruit and vegetables, you can get them here also. Now I am here around about lunchtime, so I think they're in the middle of doing their restocking from the morning delivery. And any Russian supermarket that you come to looks just like this. And I don't want to glorify everything that I show you in Moscow, as that's what everybody in Russia gets to see, because it isn't generally like that. There is a little bit of everything over here. If I need a new pair of socks, if I need something for gardening, they've got it. And then everything else as we walk around. This isn't a large supermarket in terms of hypermarkets. However, there is everything we need for daily life here in Russia. This might be interesting. So I have shown in a lot of videos there is Lay's chips everywhere in Russia. And there is a limited edition range that they've put out in the last year or so. And then this one has the Arc de Triomphe. and it's Dijon mustard flavored Lay's chips. And I wonder if that's to coincide with the Olympics in Paris. Super interesting that Lay's are putting out new flavors by the week. And there's so many types that you can choose from. But does it coincide with the Olympics? Even though we are a long way from there. All of the dairy items. And the Russian staples right here. Watermelon and kvass, which is a very famous Russian drink. That's all we need in life, kvass and watermelon. We don't need all of these dairy items. In Russia, there is nothing in anti-theft cases. Everything is literally just grab it and pay for it and head on out. Please, if someone can correct me about Parmalat, they are still here. I think they've never gone anywhere, despite a lot of companies saying that they're leaving Russia. I'm going to walk around the shop in as much of real time as I can and show you the assortment and what you can buy. And then you can make your own opinions of what a Russian typical supermarket is like. Coca-Cola fridge. Just so happens they've got the Kind Cola in here, which is from the factory where Coca-Cola is produced in Russia. Is it a coincidence? I wonder. Cheapest box of eggs is actually really cheap. If you want the house brand, you're paying for one pack 75 rubles, so less than $1 US for 10 eggs. I think I need to make a price video talking about the prices of the food in this type of supermarket, because this is very typical and very normal. I wish they had roast chickens. Maybe I'm too early to see the roast chickens on the shelf. That's a shame. Let's have a look. Oil for just over $1. 2 kilos of flour for about $1.20. I always like to show the more staple food items because I think that's what everybody does buy. And people cook and bake and do all of the normal things. If you want instant noodles in Russia, it's called dosarak. And there's a few different choices. It's heat and eat. You just pour the boiling water in there, wait a few minutes, and lunch is served. They don't have a bakery in this store because it's a very simple in nature shop. They've got the packaged bread that would come from a local bakery. They do have a little bit of social bread, I like to call this. And this will come from somewhere very local. And this will be filled up daily. And they have the normal cheap bread, which is for everybody. And you're paying about 50 cents for a loaf of bread. So you're able to get bread at a more reasonable price. As somebody who works in retail, I don't like seeing everything stacked everywhere like this. And where I worked in Australia, I would have been pulled in the office and talked to for the way this looks. But in Russia, this is very typical. So we walked in a beer shop, and then literally in this supermarket, they've got alcohol and beer section. Now the register is way off in the distance behind this pillar and a couple of shelves. And the alcohol is tucked away behind this pillar. This is very blind spotted if anybody was wanting to not pay for something. But there isn't that happening. And people literally grab what they want, go to the register, and pay for it. And that's as simple as it is. All of the pay-by-weight candy. My wife likes to buy these when she goes to her local store. So you just get yourself a handful of a few different types, and you're only paying about 40 cents for 100 grams. So the idea is you can get lots of choices and not pay a lot of money. I think I'm making it a habit that I'm showing Nutella in all my videos. And there's the jar of it right here for just about $5 US for the normal medium-sized jar. There's also pay-by-weight gummy candy, which is fun, especially for children, where a mum doesn't want to buy a bag of something. You can just get a small handful, and the kids will be happy for the rest of the day. All of the cool drinks and water choices. Let's see if we can just be polite and scooch by here. I try my best to avoid all of the other shoppers in here. It's a little bit hard sometimes. Sweets and biscuits and treats. And over this side, all of the coffee and tea. Depending on when you're watching this video, I've actually filmed a video yesterday at another larger supermarket here in Yekaterinburg. And if you haven't seen that video yet, perhaps I recommend after this one to watch it as a comparison between this store and that one. And they had an entire area of the supermarket for tea and coffee, which was phenomenal how many choices they had. My favorite Bounty for $1 Australian for the big Bounty as well. The one thing when you come into these stores for the first time like I am, I haven't walked in here. I saw it from outside yesterday and I made a plan that I'd come back and make a video. It is very hard to find something initially because there's not so much of a plan about how everything's laid out. Everything's a little bit everywhere. And they don't perhaps have a floor plan for the shop that they keep. However, you'll eventually find it once you walk around. And if you live across the road, of course, you'd know this store very well. There is the Nan baby food. Nestle. Lots of choices of jarred food. So you have everything. So this is an incredibly typical supermarket. I'm repeating the word a lot, and people will ask in the comments why. It's because I wanted to show this really as a proof of what is normal. 1,500 kilometers from Moscow. It was just over 2 hours by plane to get here. And this is very much a typical Russian supermarket. Now, a lot of people who live local may not like me making this video because this isn't the pride of the region in terms of what's beautiful and the nicest shop. But this is an everyday shop where everyday people come shopping to. Now, before I walked here from where I'm staying, I walked past about 7 or 8 other small supermarkets before I even got to this one. So I didn't have to even walk this far, which is only 5 minutes or 7 minutes from my accommodation. But I really wanted to show everybody and the world what it looks like in a very Russian typical supermarket. And I hope I've done that in this video. Of course, I could have Googled Monetka and had a look on the map for the nicest, most beautiful version of this store. However, when I arrived here yesterday morning, I went for a walk from where I'm staying, and I literally saw this place, and I had to come and make a video here to at least compare it to other places that I've seen or other shops where I live in Moscow region, just to settle everybody's nerves about me traveling a few thousand kilometers and show me how people live in other cities of Russia. And I'm here showing this to you. As I make my way out of the store and conclude the video, I know it's a little bit long to get to this point. However, this was my goal today, to come and make this video I do have a few other places to visit this afternoon. I've been recommended lots of places to come and see here in Yekaterinburg. But what do you think, everybody? Does it really bother you that there's boxes on the floor, there's things lying around everywhere, and it's not beautiful, but it works? Low prices, lots of choices, and that's all you need, I think, when you come to a typical supermarket, no matter where you are in the world. As I walk on out of Monetka, I really hope you've enjoyed this tour. Now, we did start back at the very beginning on the other side of the shopping center, and the goal was actually to come here to this particular store and show you what Russian typical looks like. There is 2,600 of these stores in Russia, and most of them are in this region of Yekaterinburg, and there is a few dotted around in other parts of Russia. However, this is as typical of a place as I can find here to show you. Now, there is a lot of other places that are very normal all over Russia, and even as I walk out, I can see another supermarket across the road. And there is little markets all around this area where I am here. It's obviously a very focal point of the city when this shopping center was built and opened originally. And it's still popular for people to come here because they know they can find something without having to go to one of the bigger multi-level shopping centers. And they can go to a little market type store or one of the Rynok type shops that are in the building just behind me. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, post a comment. If you've made it to the end of the video, let's see how many people make it to the end. I want you to say, "Show me the money." Now, of course, that's the line from the very famous movie. However, the translation of the supermarket is coin. So you can either write the word coin or show me the money. And if you've wrote that, I know you're here at the end of the video and you've watched it through. And perhaps you found it interesting for me to show daily life here in Russia as it is and everything that was available. If you want to join me on Telegram, I'm posting lots of photos today while I'm out and about. You can click that link. If you want to watch an old video, you can check this out and keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.